Hello and welcome to the OK Takes podcast. I am Matt, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow capo, Edward. As of 7:43 p.m. West Coast time, Austin motherfucking Reaves. Holy shit. We've known that he's been pretty solid, but this was his true introduction to the world tonight. So we are going to get into the previous dub against the Mavs, where Austin motherfucking Reaves hit a huge game winner in overtime. And then we'll talk some trade rumors, some AD. On both Edward and I are very frustrated with how he's been playing. All right. Holy shit, Austin motherfucking Reaves. That just rolls off the tongue.
It does. I mean, OU's finest stepping up in a big moment.
Now, everybody's going to remember the shot, and we're going to do a little bit of the stay woke, and we're going to talk a little effort right now, because on the previous shot before that, when Maxime Kleber,
yeah.
There we go, Kleber, hit a huge three to tie it up. That was big, but now we saw AD on that play. He bit the bait, and he abandoned Kleber. But who do we see coming in to try and close it out? Austin Reaves. Yes. Did Kleber still make it? Of course. Right in his face. But it's the effort that we're seeing. And you know what? He gets rewarded on the other end.
Exactly. And from a rookie like Reaves, whose minutes have been somewhat inconsistent, I would say, this season, to see that effort from him in a really big spot where AD kind of gets, like you said, he really bit the bait and collapsed into the lane, left Kleber wide open. For Austin Reaves to be the first one out there, the quickest one over there, compared to LeBron, who was in the area, and Anthony Davis, a perennial depoy candidate, for Austin Reaves to be the first one there and the one putting in the most effort says a lot about the type of player he is.
And I'm really glad to say that we have the next LeBron janitor. We have the next guy that's going to do all of the dirty work for the Lakers, kind of like a Caruso. And we didn't have to pay anything for him. I mean, the guy's a freaking undrafted free agent.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. It really is, that he's kind of just come out of nowhere and has been a really solid piece. Mm-hmm. And tonight was his career high, and it was game-winning three. Not quite at the buzzer. I still consider it a buzzer beater, but it wasn't quite at the buzzer. But, just a great moment for him, and hopefully he can build off of this and continue to pour in consistent performances. And, I mean, he was a plus 10, I believe, overall tonight in 32 minutes. And if he can keep that up, his spot in the rotation is going to be signed, sealed, and delivered.
Because the way it was going, so he had more. So Avery Bradley was starting, but he only ended up with 24 minutes because of foul trouble. And Austin Reaves ended up with 32. And he was on the floor for the majority of the end of the game. So you're like, okay, well, we have somebody who knows how to, one, play defense, which is huge for a team, and two, he's just gonna out hustle not only all the Lakers for like balls, like he's gonna be the guy that's gonna dive into the stands for loose rebounds and all that good stuff. But he could finally just like take some of the pressure off LeBron and AD as far as really getting in the mud. Like he will get in the mud for you. Like Austin Reaves 100% will jump on a grenade for the entire team.
Exactly. And there were a lot of plays defensively later in the game, like towards crunch time, where he was doing a great job of when the person he was defending was attacking, he was doing a really good job of forcing a kick out, like making sure that the paint was not an option for a guy like Jalen Brunson or whoever he was on, or Dorian Finney-Smith at that point. Like anytime they tried to drive, he stayed straight up, put his hands up, shuffled his feet, forced a kick out. Like he was not allowing anything. And he was just great at switches as well.
Well, because you have to look at his role in the team. Nobody on the Lakers is expecting or wanting him to play like Melo or to play like Westbrook, where he's going to have the ball in his hands, is going to have to be a playmaker. No, the way he is going to make his buck on the Lakers is, like I said, doing LeBron's dirty dishes.
Yeah, and I think he's got a real good future as a catch and shoot player. I mean, we saw like if he could be like a 3-and-D catch and shoot I don't want to compare him to Klay Thompson, but that's always the first name that comes to my mind when I think of catch and shoot and then go back and lock down on defense. If he can even become anything remotely along those lines, I think he's got a really bright and long career ahead of him.
Yeah, because so he ended up, like you said, with a career high 15 points, and it was off 5 of 6 from the field, and those were only 3-point attempts. Like his only shot attempts were from beyond the arc.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I see him as a he may only shoot 7 or 8 shots, but all of them are threes, and if he makes 4 every night, perfect.
Because this is one of those nights where the Lakers, I mean, everybody besides LeBron had a huge pull from the logo. Holy shit. But the Lakers really weren't great from 3. And we're going to remember Westbrook's 3 at the end in the corner, but he ended the day 1 for 4. And then Bradley was not good as well. He had 1 3 and for the first couple possessions. Then after that ended up 1 for 5. And Wayne Ellington, who had a huge 3 himself, went 3 of 9. And AD went 0 of 3.
Yeah, I need Anthony Davis to stop shooting threes. First of all, he's falling into Kristaps Porzingis territory, because a lot of people's complaints with Kristaps is he's trying to force himself as a 3-point shooter too much. And I feel like, and even though he only shot 3 threes, honestly, I wish he would shoot 0.
Now, let's not forget that they were loud misses too, and loud misses for AD are air balls. AD now we made fun of Giannis for every time he airballed. And I think I remember somebody tweeted about it. So that's where I'm kind of getting the take from. But they did bring up a good point, saying that oh yeah, well, we always clip Giannis's air balls. So what about AD's air balls? Yeah, that is fair. That is fair, because they're always compared with one another. And we love to, and both you and I know, especially from back when we were talking about the finals, back in the summer, it was hilarious to make fun of Giannis from being bad at the line. Hilarious from when he would brick threes. Okay, well, now AD is starting to show some of that as well, and it is loud.
Yeah. And I mean, he's shooting 19% from 3 this season. And now I don't know if this has been updated by ESPN. I would think it is, but it says here he's shooting 11% from 3 on the road and 23.5% in his last 10 games. So he's not just missing, he's horrible.
And I mean, one of the most frustrating things we've seen from AD is the good parts about him and then the bad parts about him. So we're talking about right now about the bad parts, where he hangs around the arc and he's not going to make jack shit. But then we see him to start off the possession. He's not even doing anything that requires more than just positioning himself. Truly any center any center around the league could do it, but all of a sudden we'll see him right down the right below the basket, somehow got a mismatch, and he'll just go up for a layup right there, just easy peasy. So that's what pisses me off the most, is that's dude, just do that every time. Why? We've obviously seen it that it doesn't work, so why aren't you down low looking for a mismatch?
Exactly. If he would just stay and hover around the paint, maybe go out to mid-range a little bit. We've seen him hit some fadeaways mid-range. He's been good at that in his career. I think he could average I think he could get back to what we know him to be, averaging 26 points a game, just strictly being down low, being the biggest body down there, because we know he is, and we've seen him do it before. And I don't know why he's trying to deviate.
Well, I do have an answer. Well, actually, I shouldn't say an answer, a hypothesis.
Okay.
But I do think it is a good reason of why that we have not seen AD be that aggressive, and why, let's be honest, he just looks lethargic on the floor. And this is a complaint that a lot of Lakers fans have, and they really started coming in after his atrocious first half. But we know that AD is just going to always be known as Street Clothes Davis for the rest of his career.
Shout out to Charles Barkley for that one.
But I mean, it's true though, because he just missed 2 games with knee soreness. Now, in his presser afterwards, he was saying that it wasn't just from a single collision on the floor. No, he woke up with a sore knee. It's oh my God, okay, that's horrible. if you're already waking up sore in December, what's going to happen in June?
Yeah. And I mean, we can't really afford to miss him in June. Like we can afford to have him sit a couple of games right now, but we get to March, April, May, a sore knee. I'm sorry. Like Frank Vogel should tell him, no, play.
Well, yeah, I think you do bring a good point. It might be foreshadowing, maybe some heads that'll clash when it comes to whether AD is ready to play or not, because I think that is part of it, though. It's like, well, you have the sample size of AD being very aggressive, very dominant during the 2019-2020 season. And then you look at the sample size we have from this year, and it's very different. And I think part of the difference, like I just mentioned, is I think he's just afraid to really go full fuck it mode.
Yeah, he might be holding back, doesn't want to risk a season-ending injury now, but at some point he's got to understand that this isn't a dominant team. Like we need to start racking up wins right now. Mm-hmm. Like we can't put the cart before the horse. We can't think about March, April, May when we're sitting here in December and we're 16-13.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm happy with where I'm be honest, like I am happy where we're at, but this is going to be one of those seasons where we just won't have the luxury of letting guys rest.
No, it's going to be all hands on deck. I feel like the whole time down the stretch.
And I don't know what it's going to take. I think people are not as frantic. Like, I don't know, for me, like I'm kind of panicking frantically about this because this is December. Waking up with a sore knee in December. Come on. I mean, that is something that we should be worried about. This is kind of a big deal. And then what will happen down the road? Is it like, that's what I'm worried about, is it just going to keep on coming up where he'll have to miss 2 to 3 games a month? Or maybe like a game a week? Like, is there just going to be a situation where he's going to miss a game a week?
Yeah, I hope not. But also I know that I would, like, I literally am kind of contradicting my last point. I would rather have a healthy AD in March, April, May, than have him play through all this soreness and whatever now and not be fully ready for then. But I also know that we need wins now. So if he wakes up with a sore knee, if it were me and I'm Frank Vogler and I'm the trainers, I say, look, unless you physically cannot walk, play the game.
Because there's also worrying about if he misses too much time now, they won't be able to become a cohesive unit by the time the playoffs roll around or the last 15 games of the year. And then so May, June, that territory, if he misses so much time now, I mean, that's just what I'm worried about, is that you can miss games here and there. I'm all for load management when it makes sense and it works out in the end. But load management, I mean, this is why it could be a very slippery slope.
But it also has to be load management in the right spot, like a game like the game coming up. I think we play Minnesota. Like if AD wants to wake up with a sore knee against Minnesota, go for it. But versus we have Phoenix coming into town Tuesday of next week, like, dude, we need you. And even against the COVID Bulls, the Chicago COVID Bulls, like if AD wants to take a seat, then that's fine. Load manage load manage against the Magic, load manage against Minnesota. But when we play teams like Phoenix, Golden State, Brooklyn, we're going to need him. Because, and we want to know where we stand against those teams, because likely Golden State, which we don't play them for a while, so I don't know why I keep bringing them up, but Phoenix, like, they're a possible opponent, not just in the postseason, but maybe in a conference finals, conference semifinals. So we want to know how we stack up when we're fully healthy.
Well, I mean, same thing with the Timberwolves. Like, that's a team that's currently 12-15, but they could easily be among the 7th or the 8th or 9th seed when it all shakes out at the end.
They could, but I think they'll probably fall back.
I mean, it doesn't help that they had a 5-game losing streak, but for the most part, there is a good chance. There is a good chance.
Yeah.
I mean, Dumb and Dumber, but there is a chance. I think there is a chance. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, just last note on AD I wanted to bring up. So in a recent episode of the Lakers behind the scenes show on Spectrum, the coaches, there was showing us a coaches meeting, and the coaches revealed AD was mentioning how his shifts were getting too long at times. And once again, that's just going back to, is he healthy or not? And it's just, I mean, I think we will really be in this predicament all year long, because injuries will always pop up. They will always pop up, not only when we're obviously hearing about a player getting injured, but in play style.
Well, I think AD would rather have NBA substitutions be like hockey, where you're on the ice for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and you just run off and sit. You sit for the next like 6 minutes. I think that like that's what he's looking for there. Like, come on, what does he mean his shifts are too long? Stop it.
That's the tough part.
Unless his injury is serious, then it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's just something to keep an eye that we'll have to keep an eye on all year.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and now let's talk some trade rumors. Okay, so I had a thought. Well, actually, it was once again just a tweet I saw, and I did. Let's be honest, all of our thoughts are just tweets
that other people write. Yep.
But yeah, so this one was a joke about how LeBron was endorsing Kuzma, and then obviously we saw that Kuzma got traded away this past offseason. Now LeBron is endorsing THT as he is the next great one, and now we've kind of heard his name come up in some trade talks.
I hope not, but he is a very valuable young asset that could possibly bring in a good player. Could he maybe bring in Jeremy Grant? I know his name has been floated around, but he is hurt. Jeremy Grant is hurt right now, so maybe we won't want to roll the dice on him. But yeah, right now Grant would probably be at the top of my list. So THT would probably be the centerpiece of that deal.
Yeah, my thing with THT is that I want to see what ends up with this. I want to see one season of the spotlight is on him. What will he do? Is he able to be the Lakers' fourth best option? Because I mean, it's not really, I don't think it's fair to grade him on the past 2 seasons. I think we need one where it's like, you have the opportunity to prove your value. And if you do, awesome, let's keep you on board. Because he did just sign a 3-year, $30 million contract this past offseason. But if you're not that guy, then yeah, we'll rightfully ship you out. Welcome to the league.
Yeah, it's a business, it's not personal. But if he plays well and performs to what a lot of Laker fans believe his ability is, which a lot of people think he can be a really good player in this league, we'll keep him. But on the flip side, if he's a letdown, it's time to get packing, and we'll bring in a player who's going to contribute.
Because he had a great start from when he got back off. When he returned from his injury, he had those 3 crazy games where he was doing really well. He had 17 points, 28 points, 25. Took a major dip since then and has yet to score over 20 points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we even said, we were like, this guy is going to be what turns the Lakers around. I know a lot of people probably said that too. And now it's like, does he even deserve minutes?
Well, I mean, it's also kind of hard because the guys he's playing with, his whole career, he's been known as, oh my God, this guy has some of the best layup finishes or finishes around the rim. This guy I think I called him Dr. Ock a couple podcasts ago, because he really knows how to contort his arms in these weird ass angles, and he has super long arms. Like, he could, if he wanted to, he could have beat Michael Phelps in a straight up freestyle.
He is a specimen. He's very well built, especially with the arms. So, like I keep saying, the potential's there for him to be a really nice player. But also, when you play for LeBron and when you play just in the NBA in general, your name is probably always on the block.
Well, but also the hard part with THT is that what they're trying to have him do is not like that. That's what I was kind of alluding to with what he's been known as offensively and where his skill set is yeah, great at the rim. But now they're trying to stretch him into like a 3-and-D guy. And I just don't think he's ever going to amount to that. And like, so he's coming off of his best performance shooting from 3 against Orlando. He went 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. But until that point, he's only had one other game where he shot more than 5 attempts and was able to go around 500. So like, I mean, multiple games in a row, like against Sacramento way back, he went 0 for 1. Next game against the Clippers, 0 for 4. Next game against Boston, 0 for 5. So that's 3, like literally 4 games in a row. Another one after that against Memphis, he went 0 for 1. So that's 4 games in a row where he didn't make a single 3. It's kind of hard to be a 3-and-D guy if you don't make any 3s.
Yeah, I think a lot of I think they're maybe trying to force that role on him, and that's not really what he should be. I think they kind of want him to be like an Avery Bradley type player when he's really not. Like you said, he's much better for finishing at the rim, getting down there and just using those arms to finish. But I think what they want him to be is something he's not. And hopefully he continues to not shoot 3s and do what he does best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm worried about, is that you're trying to force him, because then I think sometimes when a team misuses a player, it makes the player look bad. And then we see, it happens all the time where a player sucks on one team and then he goes to a next team and blows up. You're like, how did this ever happen? It's like, probably because he wasn't being used correctly.
Exactly. Yeah. We can't expect him to blossom if we're not playing to his strengths. And I'm not saying we should build the offense around him, but I think when he's on the court, let him do what he does best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's something once again, just like we were talking about earlier with AD's injury, we'll have to keep an eye on this, because I would not be surprised if he gets traded.
Oh,
I'm like, but that's the thing with LeBron, is that, do we know which side of LeBron? Like, might be LeBron just saying, "Ooh, look at this new car I have. Look at this Honda Civic." It's like, if you really liked your Honda Civic, why are you selling it?
Yeah, I don't know. I would not be shocked if he moves before the deadline, but also I do think a lot of the Lakers brass really like THT as a player, and I think they want to hang on to him unless they know what they're getting in return is better.
Mm-hmm. Now, another, on top of the THT trade rumors, it's also interesting that we had a big report come out, and this was a shams bomb. Russ, people within, or Laker figures, are open to trading Russell Westbrook. I just don't understand why you would sign him in this early on and saying, "Oh yeah, we'd be open to trading him," or even have a report like that leak.
Yeah, I don't know, because I've gotten to points in the year where I've been like, I'm ready for Westbrook to go, but then I see his energy and certain games where he just is an absolute menace. And I'm like, wait, this is what he can be when he's on. So I don't understand why they would trade for him only to trade him again so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I believe that report. But then again, it's a very respectable name, Shams. He doesn't just float things around. He knows he drops bombs, he's like Woj. You hear it from him and it's real, but I just don't see that happening.
I don't really see it happening with the situation they're in. Now, if there was a really bad locker room blow up, yes, obviously. And if he was playing really bad as well, like, he's doing fine. Let's be honest. Like with Russ, yes, I don't think he's playing as well as we'd like him to, but for the most part, the Lakers aren't where they're at because of the way Russ is playing. I think a lot of it falls upon AD. We already talked about that. But for Russ, also, you have to look at the contract he's on. 2 years, $91 million. He's getting paid $44 million this year. What team in their right mind is going to want to pick that up?
Right. Yeah, no one. But you're right. It's not like he's horrible. I mean, 19.5, 7.7, and 8.4. I'll take that from my third best player on my team all day and twice on Sunday. So I think all things considered, how he was playing earlier on in the year was definitely an outlier. I think the way he's playing now is more on par with what he is and what he's going to be. So I don't think moving him would maybe be the smartest. And also, like you said, nobody wants to pick up $44 million a year.
Because that's the thing is that, and I get so frustrated with like trade talk of any sport, NFL, MLB, NBA, is because you're like, oh, well, you're making this trade, or what about that trade, or what about that trade? Okay, well, the problem is why would the other team want it?
Yeah.
You have to look at, yes, two groups have to say yes to something, and a lot of the times you're looking at one side of it and you're like, wait, so why exactly would the Blazers want to give up Dame to have Russ on their team, and they have to pick up $90 million? Where does this make sense?
Yeah, it's not a one-way street. You have to look at, okay, does this trade make sense for both parties? And I just don't know a team out there where a trade for Russell Westbrook makes sense. Maybe Cleveland, maybe because they lost Colin Sexton, they could use another guard to pair up with Garland, but
they don't need him though, because they're doing fine. They're doing fine. They don't need Russell Westbrook.
They don't need him. No, they definitely don't need him. But I'm just thinking of like players, teams who maybe lost their point guard, maybe are looking to add a big star to help make sure a team like they get in the playoffs, like Cleveland. So, but I don't know where another team out there where it would be worth it for them to take on the money.
And another guy that we've seen, so on the flip, now a guy outside of the Lakers, people have thrown rumors out the Lakers are interested in, is Ben Simmons. And this is another guy just like, I don't want anything to do with Ben Simmons. If the Lakers don't win a championship, I guarantee you there's maybe 2%, and those 2% of the Lakers fandom probably had lobotomies that would say we should have got Ben Simmons. That was the reason why we didn't have success in the playoffs for the second year in a row. We didn't get Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I don't think Ben Simmons is the answer. Because what is he's just where is he going to play? Is he going to back up Russ? He's not going to want to back up Russ. Is he going to transition to the 3? We've seen him play small forward, but then who does that slide out of the lineup? And that forces AD to play the 5. It just doesn't fit. I don't want it. No.
And honestly, it might not be easy for him because his ex-girlfriend lives in Calabasas.
Yeah, that's probably not the best for someone who's working mental issues out.
Yeah, I don't think moving to LA will improve your mental hygiene. No. Just in general, if you're somebody who's really struggling wherever you're at in life, and you're like, oh, all I need to do is move to LA, joke's on you.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I don't just imagine having to deal with the 5 for one time. Imagine trying to drive 10, just something that would usually take in your hometown 10 minutes. You're gonna have to add on 30 minutes, and then imagine the stress of not finding any parking. And then the only time you do find parking is it's $50 in some shady parking lot in like a Korean church.
Yeah, might not be the best for Ben Simmons.
But also this is a guy who, it looks like work ethic is an issue. I don't see how moving to LA would improve your work ethic.
Especially when you're on a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis and guys who are, well, I was kind of just saying how LeBron and AD weren't really hustling, but are known for having good work ethics and always constantly working out, putting in work in the gym. Like, we've literally heard Ben Simmons has walked out of practice because Doc Rivers wanted him to show more effort.
Yeah. And he's also it seems like he's just super distracted. So I just can't imagine how in any world that would be a good fit.
No.
So
no.
It's frustrating.
Ben Simmons, stay as far away from the Lakers as you can.
Yes.
Go to the
Please
Knicks.
do.
The Knicks had their name in your ring also. Go play for Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Please make Thibs look like even more of a curmudgeon Jew.
did you catch Stephen A. Smith's quote on, I think, Get Up this morning, where
I did not.
he said like, oh, I'm gonna butcher it. He said like the Knicks are like everyone's rug. They just walk into Madison Square Garden and have all their big moments, but the Knicks can't have that for themselves. Like he called them like the NBA's rug. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, it sounds like he's the rug because they get stepped on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Wow, I mean, that's pretty accurate after he saw Steph pass Ray Allen right in their fucking face.
Jeez.
Just kind of wrapping up some notes. LeBron just won. It's kind of old news now because it's Wednesday and it's going to be dropping Thursday, but LeBron won the Western Conference Player of the Week after averaging 28 points per game on 60% shooting from inside the arc, over 41% from beyond it. So shout out LeBron. There's times where I get so mad with LeBron because he doesn't close out. And then there's times where he'll hit daggers from the logo.
Yeah, this was without a doubt his best stretch of the season so far. And I had been pretty critical of LeBron. I was texting one of my friends and I said, I've come to terms with the fact that LeBron is not the player he used to be. And literally, like, since then, he's won Western Conference Player of the Week, averaging 28 a game. So he's really shut me up. So shout out to him.
Mm-hmm. And I think Trudell asked him after the preview. Yeah, I think after the game against the Magic, what's the secret to all this? And he said REM sleep. And then I saw Lakers Nation did a whole big deep dive on what REM sleep is. It's okay. You're kind of overcomplicating this whole thing.
Yeah.
Here's a general idea for life. The better you sleep, the more productivity you have, or more cognitive productivity you have, the more clearly you see the world. So yeah, I would say usually success and sleep kind of have a little bit of a correlation. Not sure if the entire world caught up on that yet.
No, that's eye-opening news to some people.
Mm-hmm. But it's just hilarious that Lakers Nation hired some doctor in the Valley to explain the progress that LeBron is making because of his sleep.
Come on.
And I don't mind Lakers Nation. I think they're great. I get a lot of stuff from them.
Yeah. They're awesome.
But it's just hilarious. I'm like, phew, anytime that we need to suck LeBron's dick some more, there is somebody.
Yeah.
If
somebody's already doing it.
If we need somebody to mansplain basic, just biological function, there is somebody.
Always. There's always going to be someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. That is all I got.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Cool. Okay. All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. We covered Austin motherfucking Reaves. God, that just sounds so good. I love that.
It
Austin.
just rolls off the tongue.
Not everybody gets the motherfucking. That's a great motherfucking name.
Yep.
Yeah. Him. And then we talked some trade rumors. We talked some AD. So yes, thank you guys for tuning in. All right. If you'd like to follow myself on Instagram and Twitter, you could find me at MattWeiner20. If you'd like to follow Edward on his Instagram and Twitter, you could find him at Edward_Vento. And if you have no care or any care in the world for anything we have to say on the interwebs, make sure to follow OK Takes on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well at OK Takes Pod. That is OK Takes Pod. OKAY Takes Pod. OKAY Takes Pod. Takes 2 seconds and will help us tremendously. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and have a wonderful day.